Hi and welcome again. We still are learning about lecture 2, which is more procedural and court system. All these things is because we have rights under the Constitution. You have a right under the Constitution to be represented by an attorney. You have a right to go to court. You have to have a legal action. That means you have to have the keys to get into court. And then, of course, when the judge makes a decision, you have a right to go to a higher court, and this is what this whole lecture is going to be all about: the state and the federal court system. Where before I was just trying to show you the laws of our nation, the Constitution, the statutory law, the administrative. But now it's the court. What is the procedure on the court? And this is a chart again to just give an idea of the Supreme Court of the United States. This is the federal court. States are similar, but not quite. They might have different names of it. For example, New York and New Jersey, we call the lower court the Superior Court in New Jersey, and we call the highest court the Supreme Court. In New York is the other way around. So sometimes you hear me talking about the lower court, I'm talking about the trial court of the state. And I will talk about the high court of the state. But then we have the federal court, and the federal court is different in a sense that it's regional. There's more than one state that goes into the court. And you have the Supreme Court of the United States, you have the United States Court of Appeals, and then at the other side I was showing you the highest state court is equal to the Supreme Court. So if you start to sue someone at the lower court of the state, then you go to the appellate court of the state, then you go to the high state court, and then you go all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States. You do not have to start all over again from the lower court and the appellate court and the United States Supreme Court with the federal court, because the federal court has 3 tiers and the state's court have 3 tiers. The interesting about this is that when you go to the Supreme Court of the state and you want the United States Supreme Court to hear your case, it's very difficult because they usually get about 5,000 petitions. I mean, all the 50 states wants to have their cases heard by the Supreme Court, because you're always going to have the loser. We have an adversarial system. We go to court with rights. Nobody has a right to tell me what to do, therefore don't tell me what to do. And the other person said, well, you have no right to tell me what to do. So we go to court with boxing gloves. You know, it's almost like a football game, offensive, defensive. And who's going to win the case? That's the important thing. Where in Europe and in other countries, you have the inquisitorial system, where the judge is asking questions, because we have civil code. In other countries, you're guilty and you go to court to prove your innocence. In our country, instead, we go to court because we are innocent and we have right, and nobody has a right to tell us what to do, and then they have to prove that we are liable or guilty. So this is a chart that I like to see, just to have an idea all the different level of courts that's going on until the Supreme Court of the United States makes a decision. And out of the 5,000 petitions that goes to the Supreme Court of the United States, they really can only hear 200. They don't have to hear every case. They choose which one is important enough for the nation to be heard. And a couple of years ago, you heard the problem we had with the election in the state of Florida. And the Supreme Court of the United States does not want to interfere with the laws or legislation or whatever they have of the state. And the election was strictly a state law. But since it was for the president, this is the only reason why they even heard it. But somehow we knew that they're not going to do anything about it, because the United States of the nation is not going to interfere with the state. Here is explain your federal and state court system by the way they exist by side. The federal court, the lower court is the district court, and then they have the Court of Appeal, and then they have the Supreme Court. The state court have the trial court, and you have to remember, like in the state of New Jersey, we have 21 counties. Morris County trial court, Bergen County trial court, because you as a taxpayer over a county, you have a right to go to the court of your county. And if you are suing somebody outside Morris County, well, does Morris County judge have the authority to rule, make a decision of somebody that lives in Bergen County? Very, very interesting, because no county has a right to tell another county what to do. And when it comes to corporations, they love federal laws because federal laws are uniform. Every state has the same thing. Every county has the same thing. So they rather do that any time. Subject matter, jurisdiction. What is jurisdiction? Jurisdiction here is who has the authority to decide the case. And of course, in a federal court, it's going to be only federal law and the United States Constitution. Case involving state law, what happened is if you are two citizens of different states. If I am from New Jersey and the person that I had an accident in a car is from Pennsylvania and the accident occurred while we were on vacation in California, who's going to hear? Who has the authority to hear the case? And you're going to see from the slide that has to be difference of citizenship and also the amount of damages, which is the standing to sue, has to be over $75,000. Question. My offline business or my online business has a website that may be accessed from anywhere in the world. Where may my business be sued? And this is where we have a problem. So there is a situation where I have a business in New Jersey, and this is online, 49 states can sue me. New Jersey is pretty good. They're not that conservative or narrow. They are more liberal. They see the website as a magazine, and how far can a magazine reach? But some state really makes it very difficult for e-commerce because of that. So the answer to that question is any court in the United States and perhaps the world that has jurisdiction. So many times, especially when it comes to website, it takes a couple years before we even figure out whose court has the authority. And one of the things that we measure is the long arm statute. And I don't want to go into that much detail in this class. But really what the court is trying to say, how far can I reach with my arm to touch this other person that injured the person, the taxpayer in my state? And most of it is activity of business, and there is such a thing as how much business this person in California that hurt me in New Jersey is doing with New Jersey, that they are making money on our taxpayer. Well, if there is any profit that the person in California that injured me in New Jersey is making any money from the state of New Jersey, the court does have jurisdiction of the person in California. Jurisdiction is the authority of a court to hear a case, and that's exactly what I explained before. How does a court get jurisdiction from the United States Constitution? As an attorney personally, I have the authority to defend your case from the Constitution, from state constitution, from state statutes. This Constitution and statutes allow each court to have jurisdiction. You can have jurisdiction over people, or you can have jurisdiction over some kind of law that you think it's not constitutional. And the thing that's very interesting, I'm going to give you some questions on the web as our assignment, because I want you to see the difficulties that some of the court have even to hear the case before they even hear the case. Thank you.